Shut up and sit down.
Hey everybody, Barry here again. Hey everybody, Barry here again. I've got more wiring to do, and this stuff is going to be a little bit different. It's not headlights and taillights this time. I have my boost controller slash wideband slash shift light slash and my MSD two-step. This is part number 8733. This is for the LS engines. It's a direct plug and play, and there's only one wire to hook this up, which is amazing. You can have it ground activated through the blue wire, or you can have it power activated through the white and blue wire. And this one here, you just put 12 volts on. This one, you just connect to ground, and you set your RPM limits. This is in the thousands and in the hundreds. So if you wanted to set it to 2500, you set this switch right here to 2 and this one to 5. So it's super simple. And then I've got to connect all my gauges and stuff, and it's not a serious amount of work. I just got to get the wires from the harness into the dash. What I got done in the last video is right here. It's still a little bit rough looking at the moment, but here is a fuse block with all my powers here, all my grounds, and I'm going to have this activated by a big solenoid, which is this beastly thing right here. So my ignition is going to turn this solenoid on, which is going to supply power to the fuse block in the cab. So just to knock a quick one off the list while I'm here on my lunch break, I'm going to install the two-step. And I've had this one for something like 3 years now, and it has never let me down. This is an awesome unit. So I'm going to mount it in this cavity right here. I've already actually have the screw holes there, so it'll be really easy to hook up. And then I'll run the wiring through right here somewhere and hook it directly to the fuse block. So I'm going to have it hooked up to, I think I'm going to hook it up to power, because when my fuse block comes on, the two-step will be on, and I'm going to use that as my rev limiter. It's a spark cut rev limiter, so it'll just cut spark, dump fuel out in the exhaust, and no big deal. If it was a fuel cut limiter, then it would go lean, and with turbos, we don't need that. So I'm going to go with power. So first I'm going to switch over my supply here and put it onto the 12 volts. And that will go right there like that. I'm just going to put one of those screws in really quick, if I can find it. There we go. Power tools make things so much faster. I gotta be careful not to pinch this wire off. It's really close to that screw hole there. I've got my two-step mounted right here, and I can get at it with a little screwdriver, but it's going to be kind of difficult. So I've made it hard on myself once again, but that's it. And I ran the wire through this hole in the firewall here. I'll run a grommet or something right there. Now I can simply run it up here to this little screw. So not a lot to it. Just put it in right there like that. It's not focusing very well, but do what can. And here we go. Now we've got fused 12 volt power to supply the two-step. Another really simple part about wiring up this two-step is the coils. It comes with the T connector here for the coils, and you just unplug. I'm just going to use this one as the longer side. You unplug your coil over here, plug it into the female plug until it locks, and then just plug it right into your coil rail. Do the same thing over here. Over here, and then the male one. Whoever at MSD came up with this idea is an absolute genius. So that's the two-step wired up, like 5 minutes and it's done. And I've still got like half a lunch break left. So I think next I'm gonna mount this solenoid and wire it up. It's very easy to wire. I'll do my ignition side and the power side after, because I don't have my ignition switch in the dash yet. I'm just going to mount this there somewhere and hook up the power cable from the solenoid over to the fuse block. And of course I had to look it up on YouTube because nothing is ever labeled. There is absolutely zero markings on this to show what would go where. It says 12 volts, so that's something. So this one is exactly like mine. The mounting is in the correct location. The big studs are on the sides, smaller ones top and bottom. And he says the left coming in to the bracket right here is the feed, which will be from the alternator stud. And then out here would be out to whatever it is you're powering. This blue wire is your ignition, which turns on the solenoid or relay. And this would go to a ground. So this is going to be fairly easy to set up. I'm just going to draw a diagram of this so I don't forget. And I've got my little diagram drawn here. Big stud from the battery, small stud to ground, that's the symbol for ground. Small stud up here is ignition, and then up here is to my fuse block. That's the big stud right here. So I've got the solenoid wired up right next to the fuse block, and I think it looks pretty clean. That was daunting. Like, it was so hard to get the drill in here to screw in these self-tapping screws, but I got it. So I need to run the wire from right here to the fuse block. I've got it mounted upside down, so this is going to be my battery power in. I just figured it'd be a lot easier to just kind of loop it and put it right on there. And the wire I'm going to be using is, this is one of the main battery cables from a Chev truck, and it already has a loop on it that I can screw onto the fuse block, I think, and I can cut it off to whatever length it needs to be, because it's just scrap wire. I'm not getting a lot of really good footage here today because this is really difficult and it's dark. But anyway, one side is right here, and I just kind of got it looped to see how bendable this wire is. And it's not bad. I just need to get away from this bracket here, so I might kind of bend it out of the way, or it might work fine just like that. But I think I'm going to bend it pretty much right there and cut it off here. That way I've got a little bit extra cable there. I could have probably mounted it over here further, but it would have been really hard to get at. So I think that might do it. Installed. And it's away from the bracket. Not going to touch there. It's bolted on. I cleaned up the connection really well. That one's bolted on. Now I just need to run the big cable to the battery, whichever small one it is, down to my ignition switch, and then the other one to the ground. And I went ahead and hooked up my ignition wire. Comes down here to the back of the ignition switch, and it's on the port that's called ignition right here. And then the other ones are accessory, start, which is in the middle, and then the battery one right here that goes to battery hot. So I'll probably run that wire right up to this same terminal right here. That way it'll come right from the battery when it comes off the alternator port or terminal. And now I can hook up some more stuff. Well, I've been having a little bit of a hard time keeping up with this video because I'm just wiring. I'm just plugging wires into places. So what I did yesterday was ran the wire from the alternator that goes across here up to the solenoid for the fuse block, I think it is. Yes, it goes into the power side of the solenoid. That's what's going to supply power when it turns on to right here. This is hooked up to the ignition. Right here is the ground, and that goes across to the ground terminal right here. And then I need to run a ground wire from here to a really good ground spot. I thought about maybe right here, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. So I might run it out to the outside and connect it right to the block. And what I'm going to start doing now is my gauges, just to get that out of the way, because it is a lot of wiring. Or should I say, it is a lot of wiring. Yeah. So I put my innovate wideband in. This wideband is going to serve the left bank. My AEM wideband here is going to serve the right bank. So I'm going to have sensors on both sides. You can see this one right here temporarily. But when I get my exhaust done, I'll put the sensor under the fender here somewhere. And then my other sensor will go on the other side. That way, like I said before, I can monitor air fuel on both sides. I didn't buy a second wideband specifically for this because I don't see the need. But I already had my wideband, the AEM one before. And then I bought the boost controller off Charles Williams, and it happens to have a wideband in it. And that's this one. Plus it's got a shift light and other fun things. So I'm going to go wire all this stuff in. And man, like, there's a lot. I have no idea where any of this goes. this plugs in. This one here is from my AEM. This is from my AEM. I've got to wire that one in. No idea where these wires go. This is the map sensor, so that's got to be screwed down somewhere. Probably on the firewall, something like that. That is going to be a tight engine bay when I get it done. Here is a serial data cable, which I don't have a computer that has a serial data input, so I'm not going to be bothering to use this, but I will put it aside. Nice and safe. And here is the Mac valve. This is what's going to control the boost, so I've got to wire this thing in. I got a lot to learn in a short amount of time. So I'm on a lunch break here now, so I'm going to try to burn through this and get as much done as I can in the 1 hour that I have, because we're going to start watching Spider-Man No Way Home when I get home with the girls. And we're really excited for that. So less time lapse so I can get a bunch of work done. Well, I got some things done. I don't really know what, because this video has been 4 days in the making, and I get like an hour lunch break to pick at it. So there's absolutely zero structure to this video at all, and I apologize for that. But I'm getting stuff done. I have the Mac valve mounted, the map sensor mounted. Both of these are for the boost controller and the Innovate wideband. And this is the wiring for it. Here is the wire going to the plug-in right here for the AEM wideband. That's going to be a hole over here in the fender somewhere, and I'm going to leave that long like it is for now. This is positive battery cable going to the alternator. I also have the one down here that comes up from the starter, and it's going to be coming out here right now. I'm not going to cut that off until the battery is mounted. But right now, I'm going to install the fuse block for the fuel injection. I've got the fuse block in here, of course, for all my lights, my accessories, all that stuff. But my PCM, I'd like to run on a separate fuse block under the hood out here. What I have, if I don't break it first, is this 8 fuse block with nice little covers on it. That cover's cracked, so maybe I'll mount it this way. Oh, that one's cracked too. Anyway, whatever. This is an 8 fuse block, just a separate in-out fuse block. So what I'm going to do is run one big power wire, and I would say probably split it off that 8 ways. This is not an ideal setup, but it's not terrible. And then I'll be able to run, say, my 2 fuel pumps, my 2 fans, and then use the 4 over here for my fuel injection. This will be like, say, injectors, coils, sensors, all that fun stuff. So that way, I'm not using my big draw items like the fuel pumps and stuff on my interior fuse block, because that one's only rated for 100 amps. This being all separate systems, I can put a 30 amp circuit in each one, doesn't matter. Or, you know, like a 20 amp or whatever. So I'll check out what the amp draw is on those pumps and the fans, and I'll add on 5 amps for a fuse. Yeah, more wiring. I'll stop in regularly for little updates and see where I get. This might be a little bit hard to see right now, and it's a little bit messy looking, but I've got to kind of loom this right alongside this main harness here. And I've got my fuse block mounted, and these are the 4 PCM wires that go out to the PCM. These are the pink wires which get ignition positive. And then we have the 4 wires here that come out from the main relay. Not through the fuse block, but it comes off of the main relay here right when it gets key power and goes out to the fuse block. Now it is starting to get a little bit messy looking in behind the dash there, but I know it's all fused, it's all on relays, stuff like that. And I'm trying the best I can, and I will sort of loom or tie everything together so it doesn't be moving around and chafing, and I'll get it as clean as I can. But some stuff I can't do. I'm trying, but it is what it is. So I have these 4 down here reserved for 1, 2 fuel pumps and 1, 2 fans. I'm going to fuse and relay each fan and each pump separately so that if I lose a pump, I still have a pump. If I lose a fan, I still have a fan. Plus, the 2 fans are on separate triggers, which are right here. This is fan number 1. Right here, this is fan number 2. So they have separate PCM triggers, but I might turn them on either at the same time or say 5 or 10 degrees apart so that the PCM isn't putting all that power out at one time, triggering both fans. I'm sure it probably won't be a big deal, but I'd rather have them come on stepping and have them turn off 5 degrees apart or 10 degrees apart or something like that. With the fans and the rad in the back of the truck, I got a feeling that they're going to be on pretty much all the time anyway, especially on the highway where there's no airflow back there. So, more wiring. I'm going to run a 7-wire bundle sheath. Anyway, in a big thick rubber sheath that's made for heavy trailers. I'm going to run that right from the fuse block right back so that I've got all 7 wires in a nice clean bundle, and I can split off to where I need to go. I can split off to my fuel gauge, split off to the fans and the pumps. If there's anything else that I need to run back there that I'm not thinking about right now, I've got extra wires. So I'm going to put it up on a ramp in a few minutes, and also I'll clean up the taillight wiring while I'm in there. Well, I don't have the truck on the ramp yet, but I did get stuff done. I got everything in here kind of tied in, everything but the 2 fans and the fuel pump. Check engine light, tach, wideband, all that fun stuff is running parallel with the fuse block, but separately. And it goes in through the firewall right there alongside of this one, so that'll be pretty much tied together until it splits off here. I'm going to try to do this as cleanly as possible. This one is going to kind of go parallel with this one and just kind of tie off here somewhere. This will be all cleaned up, loomed, taped, everything. It's going to look just like this. Everything in under here is pretty much done. It looks kind of snarly. It's going to look snarlier when I get this wired in, but I'm doing the best I can. So I've got to wire in all these gauges. I've got to wire in tach, speedometer, boost gauge, 2 widebands, which I think are already, I think the AEM one is already wired in. I just got to plug it in now. They're wiring the Innovate one. And I had to wire in my fuel sending unit. What else do I have? I wonder. What else do I have? Oh yeah, voltage gauge. That's gonna be nice, so I can have an alt. Make sure my alternator's good. The only gauge that isn't gonna work out of all these is the oil pressure, and maybe at some point I'll find another sending unit that fits that. And I don't know, put it there somewhere. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna be logging oil pressure all the time anyway. But yeah, I've got to wire all this junk in. Woohoo!
Well, I'm getting the wiring done, slowly, but I had to take kind of a trip this evening. I had to drive to Comfort Cove, which is, I don't know, 20 minutes or something from here. It's not a big deal. Because a guy named Oliver Boone stopped into the shop, had a look around at the truck, sized it up, and he said, "Oh, you don't have the bench seat for it?" I said, "No, I've been looking for one, but, you know, they're hard to find." He said, "Well, come up to my place. I've got one up in my attic. It's been there for 20 plus years." I said, "Okay." Went and looked. And up at the top of his attic, under things that had this much dust on it, was a seat. Folded the seat ahead to see what was there, and we found a quarter. And I was like, I wonder what year that quarter is. So here it is. And the year is right there. 1977. I don't know how long the quarter was there, but the quarter itself is 50 years old, 45 years old. So if that gives it any indication, it's shooting pretty good. So here's the seat. Hi, Lillian. Hi. Huh, you know you're on video. Oh, you got ketchup chips fingers. Yeah, so here's the seat. Went and got it, and I'm gonna try to pull it out. One second. Hi, Lillian. See if I can get this thing out without breaking it. All right. I don't know how I get it in the back of the Cadillac because it is quite a bit wider. Oh, it's heavy. Now I have no idea where to put it. So here is the seat. It has some brackets in under it. I think I'll probably end up not using them. There's rivets right here and one back here that I can just kind of trim off, and I can tack weld my own brackets on there. But it's all there, and maybe I will end up using it because the brackets themselves look okay, but I just need to make up different style mountings, or maybe I can weld, whatever. It's too early in the game to say anyway. But it seems to have a slide like that. This cable here goes hooked on to here, and it also does the slide thing, so hopefully it will do that. But it looks to be in good shape. The foam is in good shape. One really cool thing is this right here. This is out of a Jeep. Somebody who knows this stuff might be able to tell me a lot more about it. But it was for a Jeep, and it was a brand new seat at the time. And this is a cutout for the 4-speed shifter, the manual transmission shifter. And one issue I always had was whenever I'd shift into second or fourth gear or reverse, I'd always hit seat with the shifter because there's not a lot of room in the cab. So that's pretty cool. And it's a bench seat. So Cass and the girls will be able to get in with me, or Cass and one girl, whatever. And we can go for drives. So this is sweet. You know, it needs a clean up, but I will do that. Look at that dust. That is authentic patina barn find dust there. It's worth like 20 grand more now. So it's got a little bit of, I'll call it wear. I don't know if you'd call it wear. It's just indentations. There was stuff laying on this and sitting on it for years, but it's got, like, the springs are great. The sponge is fine. So I think after a while, this might start to come back out. If it doesn't, I can, I don't know, try to stuff something under it, whatever. Not a big deal. But that's going to be an awesome addition to the truck. And the red matches it, so even cooler. So that's a huge thanks to Oliver Boone. I don't know if you've ever actually seen any of my videos, but I appreciate it so much, and it's going to go a whole long way, and it's going to get a lot more use for the next however many years than it has sitting in a garage collecting dust. And that's the way these things work. Now, we can't forget that Chris Jones from Nova Scotia sent me the seat that's in the truck right now. And I just probably realized that my hair might look ridiculous because we drove the whole way there and back with all the windows down. and this is the most hair I've ever had. Anyway, whatever. Stop being a child. So this seat will get lots and lots of use when I go racing and Mexico, because these seat brackets are easily removed and installed. Just undo the 4 nuts from the bottom, pull the whole seat up, bolt that one in. When I go racing, bolt this seat back in. Much gooder. So I did get a lot done, and I don't really... How does it look as bad or worse than when I started? I really had the best intentions. Oh, wow, look how good that looks. Done. So what I've got done out here is the wiring, of course, coming from the harness out to the fuse block, across the frame, up into the cab. Here is the Innovate wideband gauge wire. Then everything goes across here to the MAC valve and the map sensor. And then down here, like I mentioned before, is the AEM wideband plug-in. And now I know it looks kind of snarly right now. This obviously isn't hooked up to anything, doesn't matter. All I gotta do is tie this up and loom it, and it's gonna look really good. I'm a lot more concerned about under the hood looking really, really nice than I am in the dash. And it is sad to say that because I started out with the absolute best intentions, but I'm just not great at this. I'm trying. Everything is fused, relayed, soldered, heat shrink, crimped. Everything is perfectly safe. I have no issues. I don't think I'm gonna get in there and it's gonna burn to the ground because of wiring issues. I'm just not great at tidying it up. Maybe if I left my fuse block out on the fender, all my wiring would go to it and it would splice off and it would look a lot better, like I did with the Caravan. Just don't have the space, and I don't want to make the engine bay really untidy because there's already enough going on out there now. Never had twin turbos before, never had boost controller with a bunch of different sensors before. It's just still not used to this stuff yet. So I'm trying my best, and I kind of hope that I relay a message here that you can do this stuff too, because I've never done it before. So far, so good, successful. And you can laugh at me when it fails. But when I get the 4 screws in this and everything turns on, we'll be good to go. The only thing I need to wire up now is, like I said before, run the 7 wire back here to the fuel cell, run the plugins for the rad, and then I'm good to go with other stuff. So I'm not going to do any more wiring right now. I'm going to wait until I get my radiator mounted in order to do my fans, because I have no idea where that's going to be mounted yet. So I think in the next video I'm going to do radiator stuff, maybe some exhaust, because I'm exhausted and I need to do something different that isn't monotonous like wiring, because it's been 7 days or something now of complete and utter wiring, which my eyes are ready to cross and everything looks the same. So enough complaining. I'm going to finish it up here. And in next couple days next video, I'm gonna do something different. And then we'll go back to wiring. Next thing, the only thing that I gotta wire in now basically is fans and fuel pumps. That's easy. I could do that in a little tiny segment of another video. So I'm gonna finish it up here and forget about wiring for the next couple days. So thanks for checking out the channel and all new subscribers. And thanks to my YouTube members and patrons. If you want to check out my Patreon, it's patreon.com/stationroadratrods. YouTube members link is down here. And check out my Teespring store for cool merch. A lot of Station Road Rat Rods